Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Cade. I'm the Secretary of the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I'm here to announce that the Department is adjusting its parole policies to discharge criminal aliens who have been deported from the United States from parole. We have currently approximately 12,000 parolees who have served their full sentences and have been deported to their country of origin. When they return across the border, we're finding that far too often, rather than being prosecuted for the federal felony crime of returning as a convicted felon, they are being instead revoked on parole for a short term of 4 to 8 months. Simply put, our previous policy resulted in a revolving door at a high cost to taxpayers without improving public safety. California has absorbed this cost, up to $10 million annually, of keeping these deported aliens on our parole rolls and then allowing them to serve short stints in state prisons rather than the 10-year sentences that they're eligible for upon felony prosecution by the federal government. This problem is exacerbated because if an illegal alien is serving time in California's institutions, we receive only 11 cents on the dollar from the federal government in reimbursement rates for that inmate. On February 27th of this year, I signed a letter and sent it to Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. In this letter, we reiterated the Schwarzenegger administration's support for her administration's work, but also noted we needed their help. We need the federal government to partner with us in implementing this new policy change. We need them to prosecute these crimes as they occur. Last year, as I said, 1,600 of these offenders were not prosecuted by the federal government and spent short terms in our institutions. They should be spending up to 10-year terms in federal institutions. And so we're asking that the federal government assist us in this manner. In addition, I would note that we will work with our partners in local law enforcement to ensure that their efforts to interdict these individuals and to investigate and arrest and prosecute them for crimes committed within California will be stepped up. We will ensure that they are able to effectively search and seize these individuals as they have before. Finally, by way of context, I would note that last year, the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation spent $970 million for the incarceration of undocumented persons. The state expects to receive $110 million in federal state criminal alien assistance program funding for that year. In sum, we can no longer afford the old policy. We need our partners in federal government to stand beside us and to send a message that if you're a felon, you're deported from California, and you return, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Thank you. At this time, we'll accept questions. So under the current scenario, if an illegal alien were to spend his full term in California, he would be deported, remain on our parole rolls, despite the fact that he had been deported from the country. Then upon his return, if he's arrested by any agency, we would then typically place a parole hold on that individual, and the federal government would have the option. Do we prosecute this person for the violation of federal statutes, or do we just leave it to the state to do what it will? And in far too many cases, when the federal government did not prosecute, the only recourse was, again, a 4 to 8 month parole revocation term, followed again by this same process of deportation, et cetera. We're going to submit them to the Board of Parole Hearings. With me today is Scott Kernan, Undersecretary of CDCR's operations. Maybe Mr. Kernan, can you provide just an update on the process that will follow?
All of the cases currently that are on parole, and the Secretary said there's about 12,000, will be referred to the Board of Prison Hearings for their review with direction to discharge them. So it will not be discretionary on their part. So they will all be discharged. We're still working through, can we do this in one batch, or will the individuals have to be individually sent over? But that's just a nuance that we'll work through. They will be discharged.
Are you getting any kind of indication from the feds that, yeah, we're going to take these people off your hands then? We're going to maintain this custody, or are these people just going to be let loose back on the street then?
We haven't heard back at this point. We've been in contact with all of our law enforcement stakeholders and have received support, certainly from those representing local government, counties, the sheriffs, the chiefs, the DAs, et cetera. We undoubtedly, this is a challenge to the federal government. We know that they have difficult decisions to make concerning the expenditure of their funds and difficult budget times. But in the view of this administration, public safety comes first, and this is a public safety issue. We have to do everything we can to ensure that these individuals, especially those who are returning to the United States illegally with prior felony raps in California, should be prosecuted to the fullest extent. So we'll work with the federal government to try to do this, and we'll also work with the United States attorneys in each of the districts to try to provide our assistance. But we understand it'll be a challenge to the federal government. So on the first question, typically an individual serves about 4 to 8 months on a parole violation. Even if you receive a year, which is the max, if you're eligible for all your credits, you'll serve 6 months. Depending on what your prior term is, you may serve 8 months. That's just long enough for the receiver to conduct a full medical exam, for our staff to do a full mental health exam, for our staff to do a full dental exam, to begin receiving all of those services. But it's not long enough, according to correctional science, to have any impact on recidivism. For individuals who return to this country and commit a crime here, they're going to be arrested and they'll be tried in California courts for committing California crimes. But if they come back and they're a status offense and illegal, then we expect them to be referred to federal prosecution and be tried for that federal crime.
If they commit a crime in California, they're going to pay the sentence as determined by the courts.
Well, I think this is one of those situations where, we were using the belt and suspenders approach. We were asking the federal government to prosecute, but if they wouldn't, then we were satisfied with these 4 to 8 month terms. But when you step back from it a little bit, and that's the good thing about the kind of crisis we're in with our budget, is you have to reevaluate everything we do. Upon reevaluation, we realized that we were, in effect, allowing this problem to continue by having these deported parolees on our parole caseloads. And so really it comes down to the necessity of the day requiring us to reevaluate. And then I need to really give credit to our staff and our stakeholders who came up with the idea and suggested it, and to Mr. Kernan and his team for putting together a great implementation plan.
Well, what if the feds don't prosecute? Then what are you going to do?
Well, that's a question for the feds. It's our job to prosecute, or it's the state's job to prosecute state crimes, and it's our job to incarcerate those that the judges send our way. But we can no longer take part in this role of providing with the federal government with the available explanation of, we'll just allow them to do a parole term. We really need to put their feet to the fire, and I'm confident they're going to respond, and I think we'll all be safer for it.